Hello, everyone. This is part 4 of Birth Pangs. I'm going to go ahead and just go on from the previous 3, not go into a lot of explanation, and we'll just get on with this video. So let's move past the conspiracy trite and see what the words below the pyramid on the back of your dollar bill really say. This is the Eye of Providence, as it's called. The word novus means new in Latin. Okay, the word seclorum does not mean secular, but as one might assume, but is a genitive possessive plural form of the word secleum, meaning in this context generation, age, or century. Thus, the motto Novus Ordo Seclorum can be translated as a new order of the ages. Okay, Roman Catholic Church. Now, an annual calendar containing instructions for the Mass and office to be celebrated on each day of the year. Origin of Ordo. Medieval Latin, ordo in Latin. Okay, so we've got all that in place. Jesus said he would be with us even until the end of the age. So what exactly age are they moving us toward? I thought we were in a Christian age, so why are they moving us to another age? What is this age? Novus Ordo Seclorum. The phrase Novus Ordo Seclorum is the second of 2 mottos that appear on the reverse of the Great Seal of the United States. The Great Seal was first designed in 1782 and has been printed on the back of the United States $1 bill since 1935. Creepy. Let's dig a bit deeper into what this man, who not only was president, but headed the CIA. Okay, this I've shown again and again in videos what this is. This is the Eye of Horus hand sign. It's 3 6s, 666. You see NASA doing it. You see entertainers doing it. You see the Pope doing it. President George Herbert Walker Bush has often been seen giving the Illuminati mudra. Okay, they're calling it that. Let's look at some of the incidents that he has been reported as associated with in the press, as well as things he has said. We'll start with the greatest scandal of all that got squelched very quickly. Now, this was the Washington Times. Homosexual prostitution inquiry ensnares VIPs with Reagan and Bush. Callboys took midnight tour of White House. I looked at this. This was actually a really a good documentary in how they went through the small details of how they were proving their point. Let's see. Reporters for this newspaper examined hundreds of credit card vouchers drawn on both corporate and personal cards and made payable to the escort service operated by the homosexual ring. Many of the vouchers were run through a so-called sub-merchant account on the Chambers funeral home by a son of the owner without the company's knowledge. Among the client names contained in the vouchers and identified by prostitutes and escort operators are government officials, locally based U.S. military officers, businessmen, lawyers, bankers, congressional aides, and other professionals. So you have all this going on in the Reagan White House. This was June 29th, 1989. Now, here's a picture of a boy named Johnny Gosch. He was one of these kids. Now, you obviously can see this is George Bush. They're walking through a crowd together. Okay, this kid talked to other kids in the group. Now, this kid reported that Johnny Gosch had said this. And after this scandal, this unfortunate child disappeared. Wikipedia gives a bit of history. The disappearance of Johnny Gosch, and it talks about his disappearance. He was invited to the White House by President Ronald Reagan for the dedication. Why would you invite a prostitute to a dedication? It also appears his climb to power was linked with notable associates related to a very dark period in world history. Okay, you got the Republican Heritage Groups Council and its Nazi links. This goes into discussion of his association with this man. During his 1988 presidential campaign, George Bush Sr., like Nixon and others before him, used a Republican network led by right-wing East European emigres, including Nazi collaborators. Bush is seen here at a July 20th, 1988 banquet co-sponsored by the pro-Nazi anti-Bolshevik bloc of nations with Bohun Frederick of the Ukrainian nationalists. Bodrak had organized military units to massacre Ukrainian Jews in World War II. And if you were old enough and were paying any attention to the press at this time, I remember these allegations being leveled against the CIA. Again, I remember when they were talking about them handing out cocaine in the inner cities to black people. There's just been weird stuff people have heard over the year about them, which again is ironic. Now we're talking about the LSD there, which is ironic because of what is on the back of this record that I have shown. Taking birth, hallelujah. Mayberry, LSD. Charles Manson, the cult mastermind who brainwashed. Okay, it was talked about how he brainwashed the women that he was with, that they went through, their killing spree. The brutal murders by the Manson family threw a pall of fear across the community. Manson had brainwashed her, one of the women that committed these crimes with him, and others with sex, LSD. Okay. And there he's wearing the sign that connects to what we saw with this. LSD. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I think we're all aware of who Lucy is supposed to be. Let's divert off the presidents for just a minute to give you a bit of history on the group behind that song. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Okay, this is the Beatles. This is back from the 1960s, late. Appears we have Aleister Crowley, George Bush Sr.'s father-in-law, in the background. Way back here, this little guy here, that's Aleister Crowley. Now, of course, you can even see here in the book, they're talking about him with rock and roll and magic, which this spelling, this is black magic. This is what's talked about in Deuteronomy. God absolutely forbids this. This book, The Beast, 666. Nothing good about this man. Another, this is a 2 CD set, The World's Rights and Music of the Greatest Beast, the only genuine recordings of Aleister Crowley. Do you remember this symbol? This was used in The Omen, that when they shaved the kid's scalp, this was tattooed on the kid's scalp as the Antichrist. And again, what's he doing here? What's he dressed like? We're talking Egypt. And again, Amazon. Aleister Crowley. What do we got going on here? And about those Beatles. Now, this is a band album cover from the 60s that they were going to use. You can see what's going on here. These are butchered children. They thought this was funny. Somebody else made this comment that they got a good laugh from abortion. And this is butchered meat, dismemberment going on here. And these hand signs always carry through. So we've got this again. I showed this. We've got the owl saying Eye of Horus. We've got them making these same hand signs back then. Again, in another shot. And this is off of Paul McCartney's own website. Bizarre conspiracy. Yeah, it's bizarre. And you got this going on, doing a double. And again, same thing here. They are so antichrist, they shock even me, which isn't an easy thing. It's a press officer for the Beatles back in the day. And they were holding out their inverted crosses. And the origin of this group's name is Egyptian. Beatles film Yellow Submarine stops in Seattle for its 50th. Okay, this is the Seattle Times. Now, they even understand what this is. Yellow Submarine features songs by the Beatles. We'll be screening at Seattle at the SIFF Cinema Egyptian starting Friday, July 13th. The name of an Egyptian god of the dead. Keferi, Egyptian god. Now, this is a beetle. The Egyptian scarab. An Egyptian scarab beetle and other alchemic tools. The scarab has been said to represent the top of, okay, this is the top of the, it's basically the top of Egyptology. It's one of their most ancient sacred gods. The Internet Archive has done a pretty good job of preserving my Keferi total solar eclipse scarab god. Okay, you can just see you're seeing. I'm really trying to show more of this than anything else. And the Beatles' Yellow Submarine. Yellow Submarine, 21st century. Yet, just like the Beatles before them, the co-creators of Yellow Submarine, okay, now they're going into what this was. The Phantom Spirit Boat, the sunboat of Ra, the Egyptian sun god. Sunboat, Egyptian gods, the mythology of ancient Egypt and the sunboat of Ra, the solar barge can discover interesting facts and information about the legends and mythology of ancient Egypt and the sunboat of Ra. Okay, this sunboat was believed to carry the dead. Same thing. You can just see it. It's all there. It's always about Egypt. And here is the Queen knighting 2 of their members. This is back in the day. This was a long time ago. And you've got the Prince William here, and he was knighting Ringo Starr. And here are their medals. The Maltese cross or cross patay of the Assyrian god Nisroch, which she also carries in her crown. There's that these are little things that were given back in the day. Now, I want people to look closely at what they're holding up. You can see the shape a flare with a little bud on each side with a circle down below on one. This would be the mount. Turn it around, you've got the same thing on her crown. And there you've got them again and again. And of course you've got this. This is also Assyrian, which is based on the god that she worships, Assyrian. 3,000 years ago, the Assyrian king hauled off the northern tribe of Israel, not the kingdom of Judah, which is represented in Israel today. These, the ones that were carried off by the Assyrians, are my people Israel, who were taken and have yet to return. Ninurta, Syrian king. Ninurta, also known as, different names here. Mesopotamian god. Assyrian stone relief from the temple of Ninurta at Kalu shows the god. Plow and perched bird, Saturn, Satan worship. Now this is the ancient Nephilim god that predates in a pre-flood age. This is the reason why the United States has this as our national symbol. It's the eagle. People don't understand our ancient past and what this is all about. Now, I can show you this in another video, and I hope I have time to do this. This is the apron that you see on the waistlines of the Freemasons. This is about hidden knowledge. This is the pine cone. This is about pineal gland possession. Do you know why the United States supports the eagle in its national emblem? America, land of the plume serpent. The myth of the plume serpent revealed the real message. The plume serpent is a Mesoamerican myth, Mayan display, that's just talking about its ancient past here and where it comes from. And why the plume serpent? It appears there was once an alliance between these two fallen gods. This tells the story right here on King Tutankhamun. You've got two right here. You've got the serpent of Babylon, ancient Egypt, and you have the Assyrian god Nisroch right here, which is the eagle. And, as you can see, the intertwining of the two serpents. I think we can now understand the meaning of Yahweh, what he was conveying when he had Moses' staff consume the two serpents. Janus and Jambres, Hebrew Bible. With Moses and Aaron, they went to the Pharaoh, and as they did as the Lord commanded, Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. So Aaron's rod swallowed up the two from the Egyptian magicians. Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. So we've got the Hebrew Bible. Aaron and Moses went to the Pharaoh, and as they did so, as the Lord commanded, and Aaron cast down his rod. So again, what we're looking at here is the coding of the fact that this is exactly what this was about. This was about eating up the Assyrian god and eating up the Babylonian god, which is the meaning behind the two snakes in the lap of the Baphomet. This is the pineal gland right here, and these are the two gods that possess it. That's what's going on in the world today. As above, so below. And the Satanist Aleister Crowley, in his famous saying, rebelling against Yahweh, do what thou wilt. So back to his daughter's family and his grandson on the right. Former President George H.W. Bush tweeted Thursday that he has not taken up residence at the Houston hospital he was admitted to late last month and is awaiting a green light to leave. Yeah, I'm sure, Mr. Bush, but which one is giving you the orders? Green light from the adversary, Hebrew meaning of Satan. They all worship him. Okay, I wanted just to show these are international leaders, actually. And you can see they're all standing here. They know what she's doing. They're watching this. This is a group photo. He's doing the same thing. Another Republican. Sign of the Master of the Second Veil. This is Ryan. The Twitterverse exploded Tuesday night in the State of the Union when viewers noticed something that the Speaker Paul Ryan did with his hands. Mike Pence making the devil's horn gesture. People have been questioning this. They're seeing these guys doing. They're like, what are they doing? What are they doing this all the time? Everybody's doing this hand sign. And before I bring this pick up, just so you can believe me, let's show you a couple of articles and a Bible verse following. Okay, the first ladies who brought the occult to the White House. Mary Todd Lincoln and Nancy Reagan turned to spiritual. They turned to spiritual diviners, from communing with the dead to palmistry, spiritualism. Okay, so they were basically consulting the dead. This is one of the things that is very clearly brought up by God that is absolutely prohibited. Sister of Nancy Reagan, astrologer Joan Quigley. Okay, Nancy listened. Talks about how they did almost nothing without consulting her first. Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 11 through 14. Or a charmer, or a medium, or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead. Now, it's talking about people that inquire or use them. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord your God has driven them out. So, yes, this man, says here, President Ronald Reagan's daily schedule in the White House was meticulously arranged by an astrologer employed by First Lady Nancy Reagan. This man, Ronald Reagan, was an abomination to God. A distinct pattern should be emerging if you are a Christian. Now, this is Dio. This is something off of one of his CDs. Now, you can see right here. You don't see clearly what this is, but you can tell what this is. You've got it divided from the top to the bottom. You know what this is. This is the all-seeing eye at the top, and this is the pyramid below. And you have the two fires. You've got Assyria and Babylon. Dream evil with Dio. McCain gives devil horns to Senator Cory Gardner as he poses for a photo during President Donald Trump's inauguration in January 2017. That's by CNN. One big satanic club. This guy's saying it truly. Freemasonry is the all-seeing eye of the Masonic god Lucifer. This is Eminem. You got Cheney. Okay, you've got several of our presidents here standing in line. We have Gerald Ford with his Masonic apron here. Must have been something very impromptu. There's no detail on this thing whatsoever. Another sign, he's got his hat on. This is a Shriner's cap. He comes from the state of Wisconsin, so he could validate why he's doing this. I'm sure he's just having a ton of fun doing this because he can get away with it in broad daylight, but this does mean something. Heaven and Hell, Ronnie James Dio's tribute. Okay, so, this guy was a huge Satanist. And you got her making this. And, of course, it is one big club. They all play. They hate each other's guts. Now, Emmanuel Macron, you've got a whole bunch of people here during the Olympic Committee. They were being photographed making the triangle with their fingers. These are all world leaders. And I showed this in a prior video. Trump and Melania. Now, this is one media coverage. I showed that was covered by mainstream media, same photos, different angles. You've got Nicolas Sarkozy. He was a former prime minister of France. Yasser Arafat. Mohammed Ahmadinejad of Iran. This was Silvio Berlusconi, Italy. You've got Masonic hidden, Masonic apron here. This is the hidden hand of Masonry, Joseph Stalin. You got Napoleon doing it. Now you've got Pope Francis here doing it. For money or power, you join an organization, and in doing so, you take an oath, and eventually, if you ascend high enough, you sell your soul. I don't watch television. I know who this guy is. He does the talent stuff. They all make their money, and they all sign, and they make their deal with the devil, and they live the high life. And you've got Jay-Z here in the background, one of the little Masonic meets. And you got him here with, oh gosh, Denzel Washington. And then these two jokers. Like I said, this man is not a Christian. He's a Luciferian. He's a Luciferian. They are all 33rd degree Freemasons. And I showed this in a prior video. Management secrets, yeah. He consults the devil. Worth billions. This is a chakra point. It's an activation point. Luciferians and witches know what this is all about. Creepy stuff. But anyway, this has to do with massage therapy, all that stuff that you hear about Eastern medicine, about chakras. Don't play with this stuff. Don't get massages by people who have any knowledge of this at all. So anyway, you got a famous singer here doing the devil's horn. She's got her tattoo there. I don't remember her name, and frankly, I'm 52, and I don't care. Elizabeth Taylor, back in her day, people didn't know what this meant at all back then. Strange sign. Couldn't figure out what she was doing. Let's see. I seem to be frozen here. Here's another picture. She's doing it again. Now we've got somebody we all know very well here, Brad Pitt. Huffington Post covering this. I related it more to my upbringing. I grew up in a very Christian environment, a very healthy environment in a loving family. But there were parameters that I didn't understand and that I questioned. It took me until my adult years until I really could try new things. That was Satanism. It worked really well. I made a pact, and the movie came out. So he's just basically saying, yeah, I sold my soul. Sold my soul. So I make money. Now I'm going to go to hell. Unless I reform, of course. He always, and I do want to premise this, anybody can come back. Anybody can. But I will tell you, if you dig a hole in a deep well, you have to climb much harder to get to the surface again. All these people have made pacts, and the devil takes it very seriously, and so does God. And the Satanists know it is 11:59. Okay. Jared Kushner, senior advisor to the President of the United States. This is background information on him that you can pull up on Wikipedia. This is the scandalous history of him. Now, I've brought this up again and again. These are the players that are taking their center stage during the tribulation. It's the setup right now. Satanist daughter brought this up. Now, what do we got going on here? We've got the same man meeting with John Kerry. This is strange bedfellows. This was years ago. It was just in a newspaper. Somebody cut out, and you can see they were meeting up. You got to ask the question why. And of course, the same thing that you saw going on right back here. Anton LaVey, you see him pointing to him who's doing the same thing. Donald Trump's 66th floor apartment. Okay, this is the Trump Tower. It's a very interesting apartment. Now, this gets into 666 symbolism, Soli symbols. There's no accident that he is on the 66th floor. His penthouse exposes the sun god Apollo, son of Zeus. All these things that he's got in here are fallen gods. We've got Apollo, you've got things on the wall. None of this, there's nothing in here that reflects Christianity at all, not even remotely. And you got these two shaking hands. This man is a wolf in sheep's clothing, but they all are. They're all playing their part. How Kushner, without calling to redraw Israel borders, caused election fear. He is actually doing that right now. There's all this talk about things getting excited. Everybody's thinking this is going to be a great deal coming up. All we can do is hope that this goes back to the drawing board. Give Kushner time. This is all what it's all about. When this happens, Bible prophecy kicks in for Babylon. The hammer of the whole world will be brought down by fire. When this plays out, I am very familiar with Old Testament prophecy, and it literally, you got Benjamin's name in the Old Testament. Yeah, all of these things are playing out exactly how it was said they would. How the hammer of the whole world is cut down and broken. How Babylon has become a horror among the nations. When this starts, there's no going back. Revelation chapter 18, Babylon is destroyed. O powerful city of Babylon, your punishment came in 1 hour. And the merchants, now this is talking about New York. There's Babylon the Great, that is the United States, but the city of Babylon is New York. And the Jewish people within Israel have commemorated a coin to Trump, comparing him to a king who is perceived as having helped the Jews in the past. Okay, here we go. That's the official minted coin that they put together. We've got the king here, and we've got Trump. That's King Cyrus of Babylon. Cyrus the Great, the Neo-Babylonian Empire. King of Persia, commonly known as Cyrus. Cyrus the Great proclaimed himself king of Babylon. And we've got, I've shown this before too, we've got a crack here aimed directly at New York City. This is called Babylon Canyon. ABC News, top Israeli minister to Trump, reveal plan before the election. We are so close to this, guys. And the third temple has been built again, but in secret. When I was in Israel, I saw the construction against the wall. It angered the Palestinians, and it was prophesied in Ezekiel chapter 8. This is the interior, one little aspect of it. There's much more going on here, and it is written of in Ezekiel chapter 8 in the Bible, the hidden temple, which, like I said, just was revealed. They're not playing up what's actually going on in these rooms, but the Bible tells what's happening here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop this part 4, and I'm going to do a part 5 and wrap this series up.